Well, thank you so much for joining us today for the Get to Know Your Wedding Pro podcast. I'm joined with Kelsey Knutson. She is a makeup artist, and we just found out that we had worked together at a wedding, I think 4 years ago now, and then also a personal coach. And I want to talk about all those different things today. So why don't you introduce yourself and tell us who you are and what you do?
Yeah, hi. Thank you for having me on the show. I'm happy to be here. My name is Kelsey Knutson. I'm owner of Gather & Co., which is hair and makeup for a wedding, but also a hair studio where I cut, color, do all the things. I went to college. I studied business. I got into the bridal business by accident. Through college, it was my side hustle, just helping people look pretty and figuring it out along the way. And eventually it was like, I should probably get legit. So I went to hair school, opened up my own salon. I have my team of hair and makeup artists that come with me for weddings. And then with COVID and everything, and just a previous passion of helping business owners, I've kind of pivoted into coaching. So I wear a couple different hats right now.
Well, and I love that. And I love, first off, people that just have a lot of different stuff going on. I think it's so exciting just as someone that just launched my dumb XFL football podcast is, it's great to have, passion for stuff and just to be able to do it now. Like it's so different than even 10, 15 years ago, where if you have a passion and obviously a background and knowledge and you can just do whatever you want, right? I think it's so great. And obviously with the wedding stuff too. And then I am so interested to hear all about this coaching thing, because we've talked a lot on the podcast, in fact, for years now, about how you can be a really talented wedding vendor and like not necessarily the best in terms of like business or not. It's really hard to kind of wrap your head around all those different things. So where do you want to start? How did you get involved in the wedding industry? You said you went to school and take me back.
Yeah. So I went to WSU. I'm a Coug, true and true. And I studied entrepreneurship because I got into the business college and was like, well, I don't want to do accounting. I don't want to do economics. And then I stumbled upon entrepreneurship, which is here's the toolkit of how to start your own business or help other people grow and start business. So I found my people. It was amazing, but they weren't creatives. They were very kind of stuffy business suit, kind of buttoned up guys. And that's just not me. So I dabbled in actually the startup world in like a totally different industry while I was in college and right after college. And I was just bored to tears because I wasn't around creative people. I'm kind of like a hybrid model. And so I like to be in the room with creative people, but also be able to talk business and all that stuff too. So I graduated college, stayed in Pullman because I had no idea what I was doing. And I was doing hair and makeup just as a hustle while being a business consultant. And now I'm still doing that, but in a different way. But yeah, so that's how I started. I was in a sorority. I'd help all the girls get ready to go out on the weekends. It was just like a natural creative outlet for me. And then the academic stuff was also an interest as well. So I always knew somehow I would mesh the two together. I just didn't know what that would look like. And then after college, moved home with my parents, went to beauty school. And when I was in beauty school, I really pushed my wedding business and that's where I kind of networked in the industry up in Seattle. And I went to school in Tacoma, but knew I wanted to be in Seattle. So started making connections up here. And there's just, the wedding network community is very supportive and awesome, especially in Seattle. I think everyone kind of really champions each other in this industry and supports each other. And so I just weaseled my way into that group. And then, yeah, I've had my own salon now for 3 years. And then the coaching piece is something that just kind of organically has been on my mind for a while. I knew I eventually wanted to teach and help people run their businesses. I just didn't know how to do it. And then when COVID happened, it was like, what am I waiting for? Like, now is the time. I literally can't work and I have all this free time and I have all these ideas. So I just started kind of playing around with that and seeing where it took me. And now here we are doing the hybrid, but on the other kind of direction where I'm phasing more into the business stuff. And I'm really passionate about our community. As you mentioned, I think there's so many amazingly talented people, but the business stuff isn't just a given. It's something that can be intimidating, especially with marketing and social media, and just how to put structures in your business to free up more time to do the stuff you love doing and how to work with the people you love working with. So I'm really passionate about helping people find that.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Where like you said that you went to business, you kind of were interested in doing your own thing. It's always fascinating to me. We just had a wedding on Friday. And we were doing the live stream. And so my assistant, Joel, I was kind of like packing up some of the stuff and he was filming, just like people were like mingling or whatever. And he comes over and he goes, hey, so they're getting ready to go do, they're getting ready to come in. Like, should I go film that? Like the grand entrance. And I was like, yes. And like, I will go too. Like, we definitely need to go do that. But I looked over, they had this pianist that was playing, and I go, there are some people in this world that are leaders, and then there are some people that are followers. And I love Joel, and he's a great assistant, but he is very much like, hey, what should we, as opposed to like, no, yes, we're definitely going to go do that. Like, we need to go make that decision. So what is it about you, just that passion that, like I said, there's some people that do, and then some people that know how to do, but can teach and kind of, be on that, like a different level. What is it? Is it just a crazy amount of energy and passion? What inspires you to do all that?
This is so lame, but I think I just was born this way. I'm a Leo. I'm a big sister, and I asked to go to kindergarten a year early. I was that kid. I just always wasn't afraid to kind of take charge, and I just always believe in helping people, and my way of helping them is empowering them. And so it's something I've always done. I went to kindergarten early. At kid birthday parties, I was the one hanging out with mom and like becoming best friends with the parents. Like I just have that. That's just how I'm wired. And so it's really cool to be now with, the digital age and everything, you can connect with people in new ways. And I feel like I'm really like, this is what I meant to do. I love the hair and makeup piece because I get to make a difference in people's lives, but I always knew there would be more with that. I knew that was just kind of a chapter book. And when I talk business and I have clients that I help who are all in different service-based industries, massage, PT, hair, makeup, all kinds of different industries, I feel like I'm in my zone of genius. I don't know what it is. It's something I naturally do. And I think the big thing is just I provide accountability and structure. And a lot of it is just giving people the tools that they already have. They just don't know that they have them. That's really all I do. And yeah.
So you said you went to school for business and then kind of transitioned right to entrepreneurship, right? So what was it about that world of wanting to be involved in business? Because that's not something that every Wazoo sorority girl, right? I mean, and my wife's a UW sorority girl, so I mean it's fine. But that's not something that's at the top of the mind. So what was it that got you involved just in wanting to be in that world anyway?
Yeah, I like to bring people together who know more than me in specific areas. I've always been a big picture person, and that's really what my degree was. It wasn't so much like I had to be in the weeds doing the day-to-day stuff. It was how can you lead a team and be successful in doing that, bringing people who are experts in very specific areas and getting them to work together for a common goal. That's what my degree was. And we pitched in front of investors. We got funding. It was like an awesome degree. It's like Shark Tank, but like not as intense. But that's really what it was. And our team, placed and did well. And that's when I first was like, oh, this is like a job people do. And I think for me, a lot of people don't know that that's an option, and I always knew I was a little different. I didn't want to be a doctor. I didn't want to be a lawyer. I knew I wanted to lead. I didn't know what that meant. So I'm also passionate about how can I show other people that this is an option. Like if you're just passionate about leading and helping people and that's what fires you up, there's a way you can do it.
You said that you were involved in kind of the startup world. Was that just in college or was that like after college? And what, talk to me about that.
Yeah, like I said, my resume is crazy, but I'm so proud of it. I have done so many weird random jobs, but basically, so that class I was talking about where you pitch in front of investors, a team of us came together. It was engineers and business people, and our team could not come up with a startup idea. We're supposed to create something, couldn't come up with one. So we got paired with this vet med professor who invented a technology in the medical training space. And we just kind of got to take his project on. And it started as a school project. And then we did well. We got second or third place in that competition. And then he reached out and hired me to work for him. So it turned just as a school project. And then I worked for the startup. I applied for a grant, which is not a fun process, but it was super amazing to do at 21 years of age. And so that's when I knew I liked the startup world, but that specific industry, not for me. I mean, it was just medicine and education, and like it's just not creative. And I knew I needed to be passionate about what I was doing. And then through that job, I got another job where I was consulting through the university. So everything has all been just relationships, building relationships and reaching out to people. I literally made a latte for someone. I was working those two jobs, that part-time kind of startup job plus a coffee shop. I made a latte for somebody and that got me the next job. So it's all about just building connections and then not being afraid to ask about different opportunities that may or may not even be there.
It is. It's crazy how just the path of life and just like all the various things. I mean, I think I've told the story before on the podcast, that I was in a totally different thing than video. And it was, one conversation one day with one professor, and it just changes that whole trajectory. It really is interesting. What did you enjoy most about was it seeing all the different things, kind of knowing where you could improve, whether you were with the startup or whether you were with whatever, what did you enjoy most about kind of jumping around in those different experiences, seeing different things? I mean, what did you enjoy?
It forces you to learn something really, really fast and then make it as efficient as possible. And I loved the idea of helping people with their problems. But I also at that time felt like I needed to I felt like I couldn't really coach to running a business because I hadn't done it myself. People do that. People graduate with business degrees, they get MBAs, they go right into consulting. And for me, I wanted the street cred. I wanted to know what it was like to build something from nothing. And that's why, and again, I am passionate about the hair and makeup industry. Don't get me wrong there, but that's why I felt so compelled to go that route, is because I really wanted to build my own thing, really understand it from the inside out. And then that's how I could help other people who are in that space. And, a lot of people in our industry, I see COVID really shed light on people who had really great infrastructure in their business and the ability to pivot like you do. And then people who've really struggled, unfortunately, I'd love to go back in time and kind of help those people kind of just make some different choices or build some systems in their business. And that's why I think now is the time to really work on your business and kind of build a strong foundation in case anything ever happens again.
No, that's absolutely true. Two things. First off, getting that street cred that I remember our friend, we went to Gonzaga and he stayed behind and got his MBA and like business, whatever. And then, he was trying to start a consulting company, right? Like doing, teaching all that stuff. And I remember me and my, the other roommates were like, you can't, it's really hard to sell something that you haven't, it's the same like trying to be a wedding videographer if you don't have a wedding video. I mean, you can like kind of fake it and maybe but you really have to have your shoes kind of on that, that path to do that. And then the second thing, like you were saying, is, it's been astounding how many businesses were not prepared at all for everything that's happened. I mean, astounding, companies that I know that have had, do tons and tons and tons and tons of weddings. And then it's like, 2 weeks went by without anything. And it was like, okay, well, what did we do? And you're like, that is not, So if anything, I hope, the businesses that come out of this are strengthened and smarter. And like people realize like, you can't just have, 2 weeks worth of money or whatever. You got to be able to have a plan and kind of know what's going on. What are your thoughts on anything I've said?
Oh, so true. And tough love coming from me here, but I started my business while my boyfriend's full-time student at UW. I opened my salon literally not knowing if he got into the program, and like all of the weights on my shoulders to provide for us. And so the idea of the perfect time literally doesn't exist. And I just think now more than ever, we're feeling that. And, no one saw COVID coming. No one ever in a million years thought we'd still be where we are at today. But I think that you can still, just safeguard your business. I had safety net built in. I had saved money. That's just important for me. I'm debt free. Like I had very specific financial goals that helped support me through this. And everyone was running towards, the government, give me money, help me out. What did you do? I need your help. And I ran the other way. Like, let's start a new business and spend some money and adapt and evolve to this new climate, because the truth is, this is what we're at. This is what we're working with today, and I think just trying to stay positive and also be thankful for the lessons we've learned during this time too. I think that a lot of great stuff can come out of hardship. So I think, that's just kind of my mentality with all of this is it's chaos. And if you just sit in it and you don't change, then you aren't going to make it out alive.
What was it like kind of entering the wedding industry, as someone that, wasn't like, I had no context when I got into all this, and it's like kind of like learn as you go. But what was it like kind of entering that? Like you said before, we are, try to be a very welcoming community. But what was it like kind of entering this world that I'm sure you probably had more experience with like friends and stuff getting married than I have, like no idea about anything when I got into all this. But what was it like kind of, starting the wedding business and being involved in that?
It was hard. It's friendly, but it is still competitive. You have for sure other people who are doing what you are doing and you're competing for business. I'm of the mindset there's plenty to go around. I also believe that I'm not for everybody. And the more that I'm just authentically me, I'm going to attract the right brides and grooms who want to work with me. And I live that out loud. My team, it's the same mentality. We're picky about who we work with and we just stay in our lane. But starting off was intimidating because you had people who are top of the game charging so much money and they are super talented. Then you have people at the bottom of the barrel who are just kind of like fighting it out, just trying to get business. And to your point earlier, I think part of it is you have to fake it till you make it. You have to just get in there and do it. And then also learning to charge your worth. You learn the hard way if you constantly are working with brides who are just a little difficult to work with. Maybe it's a pricing issue, maybe it's a branding issue, but yeah, it was hard. I, in the very beginning, reached out to some freelance hair and makeup people just saying like, hey, I'm going to cosmetology school. Here's my background. Here's what I want to do. I'd love to just pick your brain. And I think I emailed like 15 or 20 and one responded. And we're still friends to this day. And she's amazing. And she went back to hair school. So we got to kind of support each other in a different way that way. But man, people can be real mean. And I've definitely had my fair share of people being pretty, not bullies, but just like, you don't want to do this. You don't want to hire people. You're not going to like it. And I think you just have to stick true to who you are and then continue to find people who do cheerlead you and support you. And then just try things. You know, I think you and I did a wedding show together too. That was not very visited is the way I would word it. And, I could tell there just wasn't very many brides and grooms coming through, but I was like, you know what, this is a chance to network with different vendors. So I just went around, and though my goal that day was to meet brides, it didn't happen, but I just connected with vendors because it's that mentality of making the most of the situation.
I now want to know, which show is this? Was this the beer centered one?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. The infamous, it was, I don't even know if they're still around. It was, a national company coming in, and it was a lot of money. It was a lot of money to do that show. And, it's one thing to do the free ones and, like I'll go shoot a video for an open house or something and kind of do it. But yeah, it's real kick in the gut when it was like $800 or something to go do that show. I can't remember what it was. Yeah. But you learn, right? I mean, you learn and you were talking, it's so hard, not judging yourself against the competition. And maybe this is something you work people through. I have no idea, but like, cause some days I'm like, there's no skin off I don't care. Everybody can do it. And then some days you're like, oh, I really, it's a constant struggle. It's a constant struggle to be confident. And then also you'll see something someone's posted online or something, and you're like, I wish they weren't undercutting me or, whatever. So it's definitely a struggle, no matter how long you've been in the industry.
Oh, big time. Yeah. So my salon I've owned for 3 years, but my very first wedding was over 10 years ago. So I've been in the game for a while. I just slowly worked my way up there. And then, like I said, I also cut and color hair. So I basically have 2 salon or like wedding / hair jobs plus the coaching stuff. So I'm busy. But yeah, I think that the key is just to learn from those situations when you are feeling that way, really like check in with yourself. Why? Like, what is making you feel that way? And then get off Instagram is also my other advice.
Get off Instagram in what regard?
Yeah, just take a break. It's so easy to just compare yourself to other people constantly, and that's not what it should be about.
It's hard. Yeah, it is because it's sometimes, and it's the same with all those. I do enjoy so much like seeing what everybody else is doing, but it is such that that line, and really trying to not just be a time suck, and then also, like you said, holding up your own, judging whatever against other people. It's really hard.
Totally.
When you work with businesses or whatever entrepreneurs, right, that are working, what are some of the biggest things that people? I know we had talked. I think before we started recording about you were talking about you might be launching a podcast soon and talking about consistency, and that's always my thing. Like when it comes to businesses, is like consistency and posting and doing all these different things. What are some things that you see that businesses struggle with that you try to work with them on that that people could learn?
Yeah, I think one of them is just getting. Money is a big piece, honestly. I talk about money a lot because it's something as business owners we kind of shy away from, whether it's pricing and asking clients for money or how much we pay ourselves or how to save for taxes or how to build a rainy day fund in case something happens again. So money is a big piece. And a lot of it is just getting clear and people have plans on how to post to social media, but you should also have a plan on how to manage your money. So those months, especially like us, where we're busier certain times of the year, that doesn't mean to go on a shopping spree. You should have a strategy and plan in place for bare minimum. Where does the money go on a really bad month, but on a really great month, and I get an influx, where do I put that money? Otherwise, you'll spend all of it. So money is a big piece, just because it's something I'm personally passionate about. As I mentioned before, I achieved debt-free last year while having a partner in school, plus loans and all the things. And, it took a lot of work, but mostly it took a plan. And I think the other piece to the business advice is just having a strategy and a plan. And I call it like a moving goalpost. You always have to kind of sit down and, where are we going? What direction is it? And I think we can all agree our 2020 goals may have changed a little bit, and that's okay. But you just have to create new ones, because otherwise you have no idea what success means. If you say, I want to make more, I want to work less, what does that mean? What does that mean for you? What's that specific number, that amount that you're shooting for? That way, if you've achieved it, then you can celebrate it. So a lot of it is just plan and strategy around social media, marketing. A lot of people are rolling out new kind of side businesses that relate to their business, especially in the online space. A lot of my clients are doing that. So just, you have this idea, maybe you want to start a blog, podcast. Okay, great. How are you actually going to get there? What do you need to achieve to make that come to life? So many people get really distracted with like, oh, I need to make this new logo. I need to get new photos. But if you don't have a plan, none of that stuff matters. So it's a lot of just figuring out, where do you want to go? And then what small steps can we take to get you there?
Yeah, my biggest thing is I can't remember, it was like Mark Cuban or one of those big, like some big brainiac, whatever, but it was talking about like perfection is like the enemy of the entrepreneur, right? And that's like so me, where like I'll sit and like look at like the pixel of like our new logo for like 10 hours, but like not even like have any mindset of, I get so hyper focused on that. But obviously that's it's across the board, right? You have to, it's everyone struggles with different things, right? And trying to figure out what, where their issues are, right?
Yeah. And I think too, part of that is back to like the mindset stuff. You have to tap into, why are you doing that? Is it because you're afraid of the next step, or you just don't know what the next step should be? If you allow yourself to hide in the weeds, and that's designing on Canva, pinning some pins, whatever kind of behind the scenes stuff you work on, if you find yourself kind of going back there a lot, there's a reason for that. And that's where A, having a plan, and B, just having the confidence to take those next steps is so key.
And when you talk about the debt stuff too, I'm a little older than a lot of the kids that kids. A lot of the people that work for me are like mid to late 20s, and I see like all this debt and like school debt and like car payment, or all this different stuff, and I'm just like, we have our house, but I'm like, it is like crazy to me, like hearing like what they pay on rent and what they pay on this and what they pay on that, and it's like I wouldn't know how to do anything. I would never know how to feel like I could get out of that ever. I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah, I think too, also part of that's retirement, right? Like we work for ourselves. We have to build that. Amazon's not matching our salary. And so a lot of it is people have all these different goals. I want to pay off my debt. My car is falling apart. I need a new car. I want to save for my future. I have no idea where to start. So I'm just not going to do any of it. And so a lot of it is just, again, more so just creating a plan and getting clear on what your goals are, and then empowering them to be like, you can actually do a little bit of all of that right now. It's just, again, having that discipline and that plan in place. And then a real understanding of spending. I think with the digital age, and you can literally just walk in and your phone just charges you basically wherever you go. I think it's so easy to be out of touch with how much you're actually spending on things. And it's not easy. It comes at a cost. Someone I follow, Money Muse, she's on Instagram. Her philosophy is spending is an investment of me today versus investment of me tomorrow. That's all it is. It's just the mentality of, do you want to invest in you right now or you later? And so I firmly believe that philosophy. It's just a matter of kind of getting clear on the goals and then what's worth it to you.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, that was the big lesson for me when back in March, when kind of all this happened, was I don't do a lot of personal things at all, but I spend a lot of money on a lot of different business stuff and a lot of different SEO stuff and equipment and subscriptions to apps, but it's all like business stuff. But that was like the big lesson for me, like back in March. And I was like, okay, like we need to cut this stuff down now, which luckily for me was like, I think it's way easy to like rein back than it is obviously to be like to try to make up stuff on the back end, right? Like I was able to like, okay, well I can maintain if I just like, if the ship's flooding, right, we can just like close the hole versus, I don't have to like shovel the water out. Like we just need to kind of maintain. Is that what kinds of when it comes to like money and talking with people like that, what kinds of lessons are you trying to teach them or do you find that they're struggling with?
Debt's a big one. Just exactly what you said. People in the kind of millennial generation just in general have more because of school loans and everything. And so again, it's getting real honest about, okay, how much is actually there? What's the bare minimum you have to pay each month? But then again, those extra months, I have a plan of like the top 3 things that are my financial goals. So on a really great month, I put a little bit of money into all 3 of them. But if I have debt, if you have debt, it's holding you down. Not a house, that's a little bit different because it also has value for you. But if you have debt, it's holding you back. And so coming up with a plan to pay that off as fast as possible just frees up so much mental space. And it also gives you the confidence. Like I aimed for this goal and I made it happen. That I just think that's super important. And back to the business and spending, I am just like you. I'm way more likely to spend on my business as a form of like rewarding myself than I am to buy something for me. And if you force yourself to run your business on a budget, it makes you scrappy. It makes you have to figure out how to make more money because you literally need to make more money. So it's super important to kind of come at it from that perspective of, just the discipline and coming up with a structure that will force you to stay within it. And then if you want to buy that fancy camera or whatever, really being clear and honest with yourself. Do I need that this month? Could I wait till next month? Can I wait till I can pay in full? Is that worth it? And yeah, that's just some like broad stroke stuff. And then as far as specifics, I hide money from myself. I have different accounts for different things. I have a tax account that every month I move money into and I pretend it does not exist. That is not my money that I get to play with. That's not business money. That is just money I've already spent basically. So just kind of having those kind of tricks for yourself, I think is super important.
Yeah, well, and 2 things. The one where you're talking about, like, can you afford it? Like, is this, like the new thing now, like Apple does, like everything you buy with Apple now, like you can finance, right? So it's like, well, you don't need to buy like an $800 phone now. Like it's just $10 a month or whatever, whatever it ends up being. And you're like, wow, that's like a terrible mentality because if you can't afford it like now, you shouldn't be able to afford it over, right? I mean, you really should, as much as possible, spend the money that you have. And the other, yeah, when you're talking about the tax stuff, I remember, I don't know if I've ever shared this story before on here that like between year 2 and 3, like I went from making like no money to like actually like, it was like a sustainable business because that was like, I quit my job and then it was like, the dead year and then it was like the real year. And so my accountants had, luckily I had accountants, which is like the best thing, but they had, I had paid like my estimated things like every month. And then at the end of the year, they're like, oh no, you actually owe this amount of money. And I said, well, no, I paid that all during the year. And they're like, no, but you still owe, and it was like double what I had paid already. And I was like, I am so glad that I just like save everything like you do. Like I just, any business stuff and then I'll pull stuff out for personal. But I was like, because it would have been a nightmare. Like Dorothy and I were on spring break in Mexico for her school. And I was like, this would have been like, I couldn't have imagined like if that would have come back, like if that bill would have come due and like I didn't have that money. Like, it's really scary. I mean, it's people really, and as business owners trying to like, do the third, or like, set aside for taxes. It's a really hard thing for people to learn. And I do think a lot of people run into trouble.
Totally. And I think too, if you have a hard time staying on top of it, another hack would be like, if you have a business credit card, every time you put a purchase on there, move that money away from your checking account to pay off that amount in your credit card. It's tricking yourself. And then also just knowing what your habits are. I kind of created a system that is all operated from my mobile banking app because I'm not going to log into QuickBooks every single week and look at my money. It's just the truth, right? So like, how can I put it in front of my face to really get a clear picture, a quick and clear picture of where the money is at? That way I can make adjustments as needed and it helps empower me to make decisions.
So as someone, so you were doing the hair and makeup thing, now you've decided, you're going to launch, right? You're going to kind of do this coaching thing. What kind of feedback have you gotten from people for that? Because it's like starting, it's starting to do business again, right? It's doing a new thing. So what kinds of reactions and feedback and how's it been going so far doing that?
Yeah. So my name of that business is Gather and Grow because I just couldn't help myself. It pairs nicely with the Gather and Co. So Gather and Grow, it's all about kind of networking, collaboration, and then helping you grow whatever that looks like to you. And it's been awesome. I do one-on-one coaching right now, and I'm totally booked out. I have no more capacity for one-on-one clients. I have a whole academy I've built, which is all kind of the main points that keep coming up in my one-on-one coaching. I built a whole program that is available right now. People can go buy it, and it has group coaching paired with it. So again, that accountability piece is a part of it as well. And it's been awesome. The people I'm working with are all just like my dream clients, which is really cool because I feel like I know when I'm like, they have to be at a certain point in business for it to make sense, right? Like either they're in their business and they want to grow to that next level, kind of what you were talking about. They want to quit that like side 9-to-5 job that's supporting them and take out the training wheels. They just don't know how, or they're already in business. It's successful, but maybe they have this passion of building an online community that couples with their business and they just don't know how to implement that as well. So it's a lot of people who are in that kind of if in between space. That's the stuff I wanted to start with. So that's what I'm working on now. And then I'm also rolling out a startup academy to help people who have an idea and just literally don't know how to get started. So the feedback has been great. People are excited. My clients are doing super well. One of them paid off her debt, raised her prices, and bought a car in a month. And it's like all this stuff was there. She just didn't know what to do with it or how to kind of strategize all of it. So yeah, some really cool stuff happening.
And so this is going to sound like a sales pitch, but it's not. But it will give you an opportunity to respond as if it's a sales pitch. So, I mean, what kind of people are right for coaching, right? Because I am someone, it's hard when you're the entrepreneur, right? And you're the boss, and it's really hard to go from like, you're the boss, but then it's like, maybe you don't know everything, right? Or maybe there's things, and I certainly try to be well aware of the struggles that I have in all facets of my life, but what is it, what kind of people are right for coaching, and what kinds of things do you find that if people are sitting there and they're like, well, who are you trying to talk to, or who do you think, could value from like either your time or somebody else's time that does what you do?
Yeah, well, first off, I have a coach for myself too. So not only did I launch a coaching business in COVID, but I spent thousands of dollars to have someone help me start a business during COVID. So I am walking the walk, and there's no way I would be where I'm at today with the coaching stuff if it wasn't for my coach. And Reallyship provides clarity, expertise, and accountability. And it's not all fluff and like, you're so great, keep going. It's like someone telling you the hard stuff. Like, what are you doing? Get off Instagram, go do your work, stop hiding behind the scenes, put your face out there, share your story. People need to hear from you. Come up with a plan. What's your plan? Let's go over it. So I'm walking the walk in that space. In general, for me, people to work with me, it's people who are fed up, people who are working way too much. Especially as creatives, we think, oh, I only log 40 hours, but how much time did you spend planning your social media and responding to clients and doing your taxes and all the things? It's the people who are working 7 days a week or working their full-time job plus their business, and they don't know how to make that transition. And then it's also people who aren't making enough. Maybe they're leaning on their partners to financially support them. It's people who just don't have the success in the business that they want. And I think a lot of us fall in that category. I'm of the mindset that all of us need some form of support. In general, there's podcasts, there's books, there's free stuff out there to support you, but they're not holding you to the fire to make it happen. They're just there to provide inspiration and motivation, but it's up to you to actually do the work. So a coach helps you in that process. And yeah, so I would say it's anybody. In general, I work with people who are in the service industry. If people sell physical items, that's fine, but my heart is with the service industry because I get it so much. So anybody who is just out there, their industry is totally crushed because of COVID, and they just don't know how to pivot or adapt, and they want to stay working for themselves, but they just don't know what steps to take or how to adjust. Anyone who's kind of in that just stuck space, whatever is causing the stuck, that's who I love to work with.
Yeah, it's tough because, as people that run businesses, and especially like wedding people, I'm just used to kind of doing stuff a certain way. And I kind of get, I think we kind of assume that a lot of people all do kind of the same. We all kind of run stuff the same way, right? And it's really not. And people have certain things that they're really good at and things that they're really bad at, or things that they like to do. And like, even with, so this new podcast project that I have, I'm running it with my friend who he also kind of does freelance video stuff down in LA. And it's been a very interesting learning experience for me as someone, that has my own business and he has his own business, and now trying to like meld the two together is very interesting to learn like things that he does not do well or does well and things that I don't do well. Because yeah, and it was even kind of like before COVID, I just kind of assumed like, well, all I'm doing okay. Like everyone will probably be doing okay once we hit this wall. And you're like, well, no, like people are at very different levels of what they consider booked or what they consider successful or what they consider. So it's interesting. It's interesting that everyone, as different as everyone is, obviously it makes sense, I guess, that everyone would run their business kind of the same, differently too, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think coaching is not one size fits all. All my clients are in completely different chapters and working on different areas. One of them, again, with the debt stuff, it was getting clear on money and pricing and really understanding how much her time was worth and how that was being calculated. Another person's all marketing, one person's starting an app. So everyone's in all these different spaces. My job is to just meet them where they're at and help them get to where they want to go. But in order to do that, they have to specify where it is we're going. Again, the whole just vague, like, I want to be successful. What does that really mean? And I mean, Oprah has 4 business coaches. So we all could benefit from just some coaching and guidance. It just depends on what your goals are. And it's like you've exhausted all the other efforts, right? Like you've listened to the business podcast. You're trying to be mindful in the mornings and grateful and all those things. And you just realize you're not actually making any headway in the direction you want. I think that's the time where you reach out for some more help and then find someone who's been there, done that. I think that's helpful too.
Like you said, you have a coach to hold yourself accountable. Because I was going to ask, like, that must be, just challenging too, right? To kind of like have to walk the walk that you talk all the time, or, to be able to have yourself be accountable too. Do you find that you learn more about yourself and kind of going through that process and then helping other people, right? Because it's kind of both sides going back at each other, right? In like a positive way.
Totally. And then not only can I pull from that, but also having the academic background and the personal experience of running a business, I feel like I have such a wide range of experience to bring to the table for people. And I'm part of a mastermind. So there's a small group of us. We're all coaches, but in different spaces. So we have relationship coach, nutrition coach, fitness coach, me, business coach, which is really cool because we have this common thread of wanting to help people, but the way we do it is all different. So I learn a ton from that group. And I kind of bring what I love about it, what I would change about it, and my own spin into how I would coach and help other people.
So I guess because this is Get to Know Your Wedding Pro, we should talk a little bit, because this is it's fascinating to me to talk about this stuff. Besides, wanting to have a business, having a background in hair and makeup, was there anything about the wedding industry that inspired you to do that? And then I guess in the same regard, like, what do you enjoy about that? I know you've talked about, you can make people feel better and kind of bring that positive change, but I guess segue into just, thoughts about the wedding industry and running a business in that, that sphere of the world.
Yeah, I just love to help people really embrace who they are. And so I'm very much the stylist that you bring your kind of desired look to me, and then I work with you to talk about what actually makes sense for how you physically look, like your dress, your colors, all that stuff, but also your day. You're not going to want something that you're going to have to fuss with if you're planning on having a crazy dancing party later. When that was loud. But I think it's really important for people to just embrace who they are. There's this kind of stigma with social media that really changes how people perceive themselves. They kind of have this like idea of this Instagram wedding, and that also spills into their hair and makeup and what they look like. And I really challenge people to just embrace who they are. My job is to make it you, but just a little bit better. And so I really, really love to work with those types of brides, people who, maybe don't wear makeup very often, or they don't do their hair very often, and they just really don't know what they want. I love to help guide them in a solution that kind of brings their vision to life, but also makes them feel super comfortable and confident in who they are.
Is that the hardest thing about kind of the Instagram and the Pinterest and everything? Is it's obviously giving ideas, to brides, to bring in and things they want to do, but also it's setting that like unrealistic, whatever. Talk about just that and having, I'm sure you see that all the time and trying to kind of meld that stuff together.
Yeah, it's you're helping control expectations there. And because I cut and color and I have that experience, I think that makes me a lot more effective with the hair and makeup stuff in the wedding space, because I can speak to the whole picture. And also I work with brides where if I don't cut and color their hair, sometimes I will start doing that. And then we're really working together for the whole look. But I think in general, it's just yeah, you're constantly like, well, yeah, I agree. Taylor Swift has beautiful hair, but like, you're not her and that's okay. Like, you should be proud of who you are. And the other thing that drives me nuts is when they say things like, well, my fiance likes this, or my fiance likes my hair long, or he likes it up or down. It's like, well, what do you like? Because if you are confident, if you feel confident and beautiful and you carry yourself in that way, like he loves you for you. So he's going to love that. And so I really I'm for the bride, even the crazy mom drama, the friend drama, all that stuff. I always tell the bride, like, I'm her number one cheerleader. It's her day. So I'm standing behind her and supporting her through that. And the social media stuff is tough. It helps to kind of understand how people see things. It helps you kind of see, like, to you, it may look one way, to them, it looks like another. So you can kind of understand and reuse that terminology they're using. But that's also why having a trial run is super important and just a non-negotiable for me.
Yeah, my wife struggled with that so much because I want to say she did like 3 different trials, trying to find, but it ended up because they were all trying to do stuff that, like, and then she's like, she ended up wearing it kind of the way she always does, right? Just a little more like whatever. But because you have all these expectations and you see, these photos and all this other stuff and you see whatever. And then it's, what do you want to do? What are you, going to be comfortable with? Especially for, 10 hours or however long it's got to last. I mean, you don't want to have some, I don't know, crazy thing going on. So her friend was trying to like get some extensions or something for her and didn't end up. I mean, it was a whole thing, but yeah. So when you're not busy, starting businesses and helping people and all that, what do you do kind of round out the rest of the time, free time, if any, get to know your wedding pro. Let's kind of round out the picture here. What other things do you like to do?
Yeah, I love doing bar trivia with my boyfriend. We're horrible, which we can't do, but we will someday. But we're not good. We just enjoy learning fun facts, random facts. So that's something we like to do. I love watching Cougar football. Probably not surprised to anybody. I also love true crime. My dad's a retired police chief, and growing up, we'd watch all the like really cheesy cop shows and try to predict what would happen before they would finish up. So I just love to know kind of how people's brains work, even the abnormal stuff. I think it's super fascinating. So it's not unusual for me to be listening to true crime and like coloring in an adult coloring book. Yeah, I'm kind of boring. Board games. We love to play board games, and cribbage. We play cribbage a lot. Again, I'm not great, but I don't care. I just love trying new things. Even if I'm not like super talented at it, doesn't matter. I still enjoy trying new things and putting myself out there. And then now with COVID, I really enjoy going on walks. It's so cheesy, but I feel like I appreciate nature so much more, and just getting fresh air. And our neighbors around here, I don't know, we just never really interacted with them. And it's nice. You recognize people, you wave at them. And yeah, so that's me in a nutshell.
What's your favorite true crime show?
I loved Crime Junkie. Okay. It's a girl and her best friend, and it's just every episode's a different story, and some of them have a conclusion, some of them don't. They actually came and did a live show, and I went and saw it live. I have a t-shirt. I'm like a fan. Yeah, I'm like a real fan. My dad thinks I'm crazy. He's like, this is very weird to me that this is a whole community of people, but whatever.
It's like, this is what I do for a living, and now this is
yeah. Well, he's retired now, so he's more of like a golf and drink whiskey guy, but yeah.
That's awesome. Well, this has been great. It's been so nice getting to catch up, and I'm going to have some ideas to talk to you about off recording, about some other maybe potential projects we could do. But thank you so much for coming on. If people want to learn more about you and everything you have going on, where would you have them check out?
Yeah, I would say a couple different places. I have gatherandgrow.me is my business community. All of the businessy stuff lives on that website. My Instagram is all business stuff. My Gather & Co. identity is still out there on the interwebs. It's just not as active right now. But you can find it at gatherandco.me to book cut color, wedding stuff, all that stuff is there. And my Instagram is where I hang out quite a bit. So I would say those are the areas I would go check out.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much again for reaching out. I'm so glad that we could get this going. I think this was in the wedding vendor group that we kind of connected. If you're a wedding vendor and you're interested in coming on a future episode of the podcast, you can go to bestmadevideos.com/podcast guest. And that's a nice, easy questionnaire we have set up. And thank you so much again. It was great I guess we had worked together years ago, and it's coming back to me now, and it's great to connect again. And thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.